Hey folks, ThomasG here, bringing another series of audio commentaries actually. Today I'm going to be covering the WC3L games between We Made Fox and Gab, and we're going to be starting with the 2 versus 2. And as you can see, We Made Fox obviously playing Soccer and Moon, sort of the two stars. There's also a third player, but I don't think we're going to be seeing much of him. Just because sort of Moon and Soccer are such stars. And as you can see, Moon playing Elf, Soccer actually playing Orc, just because I guess they don't want to play Elf Elf, although Elf Elf is actually okay in 2 versus 2. And they're playing against Ent, who's playing Undead and actually going for a Fiend build, and ThomasG, who's going for a standard build. And so let's just get this game started. We're at 2 minutes now. So ThomasG, yeah, as you can see, Fiend build. Moon's brought a wisp there and put up an early Ancient of War. This is a really nice harassing technique, just against when you know your opponent is going hunts, which sort of elves always do in 2 versus 2 really, especially when they're paired with an undead. You can just put an Ancient of War in their base, and just ideally you want to beat down on a Moonwell, but beating down on anything's fine, and it's impossible for ThomasG to kill this Ancient of War at this point, because it can just eat trees. And really, I imagine what Moon wants to do is he wants to attack this Moonwell here while staying out of the range of the other buildings. And as you can see, Soccer and Moon have both brought their heroes in. They don't have much of an army at this point, and so they just want to do a bit of as much harassment as possible, really. And that's going to be quite successful, I imagine, for them. And if we just take a quick look at Moon's base, he's putting up a Hunter's Hall, and then an Ancient of War here, I assume. Yeah, that's an Ancient of War. And Soccer just going for a standard build. Looks like he'll be teching in a minute as well. And Ent going for Fiends, which is again pretty standard for 2 versus 2, especially with Priestess of the Moon, because you just get all that. The aura just has such a tremendous effect. And it looks like the We Made Fox harassment might be sort of over, at least for now, or just because there's a couple Fiends in here as well, and a couple Huntresses, and so this Ancient of War will be able to stay and can just continue to beat down on this Moonwell and eat trees when required. But apart from that, I think We Made Fox is going to have to go back and maybe start creeping now. Moon will have this Ancient of War finished, so we can go and creep. This is actually Goldshire, in case you didn't know. It's a pretty uncommon map, but it's a new 2 versus 2 map for WC3L. It was just added. And so it's going to be quite interesting, I think, to see a couple more games on these maps. And as you can see, 38 experience on Blade Master, and I imagine a similar amount for the Demon Hunter. So obviously not a completely ineffective harassment, but it looks like Soccer's now just going for a bit of shopping. Maybe he's going to try and creep this out. He does have 3 grunts with him, so I think he will just try and creep it out, and we'll see what he buys. Obviously he hasn't sold his TP because it's a 2 versus 2, but Moon continuing actually just to harass here. Having his Demon Hunter back now, and he has started teching as well. Obviously he went for a 1 Ancient of War producing hunts and 1 Ancient of War here, which looks like will finally be taken down. But that 1 Ancient of War producing hunts means that he will be teching, and as we can see, actually he is teching. And Moon now, obviously with the salve, that's very nice. Just this position of the shop as well. That's going to be very nice for him, but the massing from Gab is just sort of going to catch up with him in a minute, I imagine, and we're probably going to see some sort of push before the We Made Foxes can get some good tech. And Soccer obviously teching as well, and I imagine Ent is teching. Yes, he is. A bit late. And ThomasG has actually built an Ancient of War in the Undead base as well. That's quite nice, just for a bit of extra base defense, and also it means that it couldn't have been cancelled when Moon put up his Ancient of War there. And the Priestess of the Moon now just being chased away, and Soccer just also chasing down some Fiends. He's picked up boots and some claws of attack, so that's going to be quite nice for him. It looks like he will actually get 1 Fiend killed. Oh, very nice block there by Gab, and Soccer doesn't have enough Windwalk for does have enough mana for 1 Windwalk, but he gets like a Fiend kill anyways, and he might use that mana just to get away now. Yeah, it looks like that's what he's doing. He does get dusted though. He's going to have to run his Blademaster away. Actually, no, he turns around. It looks like he was trying to go for that Fiend, but he's now coming back, and he might actually go down here with the Priestess of the Moon coming in, but it looks like he will get away with just 78 hit points. And meanwhile, I think their tech should be finished by now. Yeah, first Bestiary going down, and Shadow Hunter coming out, and 2 Ancient of Lores. Yeah, 2 Ancient of Lores for Moon. So we're probably going to be seeing lots of Huntresses and Raiders as well. That's pretty standard for Orc Elf 2 versus 2. Moon picking up a Naga second. It's a fairly standard second hero. just for sort of elf in general, but also it's still quite good in 2 versus 2 because there's lots of heroes to chase down, especially when you have your slow poison from Dryads and ensnare from Raiders. It's very nice just to be able to constantly be picking off units and heroes. And ThomasG, as you can see, has stayed at tier 1 because he's going just for massed hunts, and that really is the undead elf plan, I imagine, is just to get a sort of a huge number of units and then just push just before Moon and Soccer have a decent comeback. And Soccer, they're trying to pick off that one fiend but doesn't quite manage it, and looks like he might be in a bit of trouble now. He might have to TP out. He does get surrounded, he does have to TP out. That's very nice for obviously the Gab team, just forcing him to lose that TP, which is so important, especially in 2 versus 2, because there's so much potential just for base raiding and stuff like that. And if your opponent gets caught 2 versus 1, you really need to be able to get in to the battle quickly. And so I think Soccer's going to have to be a lot more careful about where he creeps now and where he goes, just so he doesn't get caught out at all. And all the players really creeping now. Actually, ThomasG seems to have stopped creeping. He hasn't. He doesn't have any tech yet on his Huntresses. It's a bit surprising. I think we'll probably see some of that soon at least. Meanwhile, Ent does have 1-0 upgrades on his fiends, and Slaughterhouse going down. Yeah, Slaughterhouse going down, and tier 2 for Ent as well. I imagine we'll see tier 3 soon, because obviously the orb is quite important, and also if you can get a Crypt Lord 3rd, that's very nice in 2 versus 2 just for Impale, because there's so many units you can hit. Although we might actually not see that, considering that Moon's going Dryad, and so there's only half as many units you can hit. We'll have to see what they decide. 2 versus 2 isn't my specialty, but certainly they're very fun to watch, especially when you have 4 extremely clever players. And it looks like Ent is actually now going for tier 3, and meanwhile Soccer putting up a War Mill in the back of his base, and obviously he is going to want Kodos, because Kodos are just anything with an aura sort of twice as effective in 2 versus 2, because obviously you're hitting sort of twice as many units most of the time for the big battles. And so really getting those aura heroes and units, I think aura unit, is just so important. And same goes for things like statues as well. I think that we'll be seeing one out any second now. Yeah, there's mostly completed statue there, and we'll probably be seeing 2 of those, maybe even more. We might see and go for fiends and destros. That certainly would be a very legitimate tactic. And as you can see, I didn't mention this before, ThomasG's gone for Owl Scout 2nd. That's just such a nice thing to get against the Blade Master, because it's sort of impossible to get rid of, basically, apart from just outrunning it. And you can always see in the invisible heroes. And meanwhile, Soccer getting a Flute of Accuracy, that's going to be quite nice for Moon, because he's just going to be massing Dryads, I imagine. And also Moon bringing in the rest of his army here. It looks like he's doing a bit of just trying to creep up the Shadow Hunter, which is obviously very important just for that chain heal, because it can heal any unit, and so it's just so important to be able to get out of those tricky situations, especially with the 2 melee heroes that they're using. And meanwhile, Unholy Aura for a Priestess of the Moon, that's going to be not that useful, because obviously the Death Knight already has Unholy Aura, so he's probably just going to sell it. And Pendant of Mana and Pendant of Energy, and a Potion of Greater Mana and Mantle of Intelligence, lots of mana items for the Shadow Hunter. That's going to be super important, I imagine. And I'm surprised really that Moon and Soccer are creeping together, because they're not creeping particularly hard camps. I guess there aren't many camps left, but looks like ThomasG's back in his base. He is now 1-0 upgraded, but he actually has taken a fair bit of damage on his fiends, or sorry, his hunts, and he's going to want to heal this up probably before going for an attack. And tier 3 almost done for Ent now, and being forced to TP out, or to TP back, because he would run back into Zocker's base and was trying to kill Burrows, but it looks like he didn't actually manage to kill anything. And I don't think actually he lost any units either, so that's pretty good for him, because it's wasted a lot of time for Moon and Soccer. And meanwhile, though, I don't think there's actually much left now, but for there to be sort of a large battle, I think, or perhaps for one side to set up an expansion. But what I imagine is they're just going to go out, try and buy the best items they can get, and then go and attack. Maybe they're even just going to attack now. Blade Master only level 2 still for Soccer. I think that could cause a bit of trouble, especially considering that we're seeing quite a large army here from Gab, and they're all range units as well, so the focusing power is really high. And we are seeing a Crypt Lord 3rd. That's That's pretty standard, really. And Moon and Soccer both moving in just to base rate a bit here, and two TPs in, and they are quite aggressive TPs as well. And a speed scroll instantly being used. Soccer already has actually eaten a fiend with his Kodo though, and not great positioning here for Gab, just because there's there's a bit of a surround here just by all of Soccer's melee units, and so they weren't really out of position, and so it's very nice here for we made Fox. Although I think Gab's actually coming out of this alright, because all of the fiends, obviously with their long range and their 2-0 upgrades, are actually being able to pick off a large number of units, and it looks like Moon does have to TP out here, and I think Soccer's just going to try and run with the remnants of his army, but the Unholy Aura is really going to slow him down, or really going to sort of speed up Gab, and so that could actually cause problems for him. And as you can see, We Made Fox didn't actually kill very many units in that battle, and so I think this is going pretty well.